Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast, brought to you by the Nebraska State Patrol. If you're in Nebraska and you're on the highway and you're speeding, you may be harassed by the Nebraska State Patrol. State Patrol, it's the State Patrol of Nebraska.
This is going to end up prescient, and I don't want to know why.
No, it's just because for some reason Facebook thinks I really want to be a fan of the Nebraska State Patrol because they've shown me 3 ads for them. I don't know why, but it's what it's doing. Anyway, as mentioned, this is A Star to Steer Her By. My name's Jake, and I'm joined today by...
Chris, who Facebook once thought was a farmer.
Ames, who Facebook keeps showing me toys for children.
Caitlin, who is also on Facebook.
And Carl, who lives in a concealed carry state and is very sad about that.
Oh, God, your Facebook ads must be bad.
Yeah.
See, at least the kids' toys all look fun. Like, some of them I actually end up clicking through and looking at because they do look fun.
That's
To
why
be
you
fair,
keep
if
getting
I were a
ads.
kid, a concealed carry gun would probably be pretty fun.
A concealed carry, like a super soaker. It wouldn't have a lot of water in it, but just you whip out this tiny...
It like slips down your shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's what I would posit. I would posit that if you're really good at concealed carry, you don't need a license for it because they're never going to find it.
That's
Touché.
true.
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to give anybody any ideas. Any of our really huge pro-gun Star Trek fans. That would be ridiculous. Can you imagine if, like, sort of like when in Star Trek shitposting, someone turns up to, like, bitch about today's, like, liberal politics and political correctness, and they're like, have you seen the show? But it would be incredible to, like, be a hardened Republican and be, like, listening to our podcast.
We need a stun setting, is basically what it boils down to.
Yeah.
That'd be
Although,
great.
Having said that, like I said, my sister lives in the Pacific Northwest, and
I thought you were going to say the Pacific Ocean.
everyone there, regardless of their politics, fucking loves guns.
And
Weird.
I was
Right.
going to say, Ames, we do have a stun setting, but sometimes stupid idiot cops get them mixed up with their not stun settings.
Touche.
Ooh,
Whoa.
Yeah, that was crap.
Yeah.
real
Still is.
bullshit.
People fucking
Speaking
suck.
of crap, we got some DS9 to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah, we do have some DS9 to talk about.
Yeah, but the crap is coming next week, Ames.
Well, in this week, though, we will be talking about 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine, The Reckoning and Valiant. The one that starts with V.
The most
Wow.
punchable face in the galaxy.
And V'ger.
I don't know, it's been a while since we got a mispronouncing the title gag out of Jake.
Hey! So anyway, first, in The Reckoning...
What joke? That's how it's pronounced.
Yeah, seriously, dude.
Sabotage.
In The Reckoning, it's a regular old day on Deep Space Nine. I really don't remember the cold open on this one, I'm going to admit. But I do remember that Sisko gets a call from the people excavating El Dorado on Bajor. And they're like, hey, Siski boy, we found some shit you might be into. Why don't you head down here? So he goes with Kira and Jake's gonna write a story about it, but there's bats or something, or big spiders, I don't remember. Yeah, everything's fucked up on Bajor, okay? There's bats and big spiders, just stay away.
But do they have Bajoran rabies on the bats?
I don't know.
I wondered about that.
Did you?
Yeah.
So they get there, and this is the city that that Sisko helped discover previously, the ancient Bajoran city. Well, they've gone beneath it. They found another city beneath
It's
the
cities
other.
all the way down.
Yeah,
He built
it's like,
a castle, and it sank.
I mean, I'll talk later about like how actually that's legitimate and a real thing. But anyway,
That'd be fun.
so there's a second ancient city under the original ancient city, and this ancient city is even ancienter. And they find there's a tablet there, a stone tablet that says, "Yo, Sisko, what up?" And Sisko's like, "Holy shit, how did it know I would be here?" And then the prophets show up and they're like, "Sisko, take the tablet back to the station with you. It'll be a good idea. Nothing bad will come of it."
Wait, that didn't happen.
And then
Basically, though.
they throw him across the room into a wall, and he's like, "Yep, got to take the tablet back with me. So he does. He's got it back at the station. He's doing, he's got put Dax in charge of figuring out what it actually says.
Damn it.
And Dax is like, why do I always get these stupid pet projects of Benjamin's? She's decoding the secrets of it, and while she's doing that, who shows up at everyone's favorite space pope, Kai Winn.
Woo.
And Kai Winn is like, hey, Sisko, I heard you stole some ancient artifacts. The whole pillaging thing, that's a bit of a sorry subject with us. So, you think you could, I don't know, give it back? And he's like, yeah, when I'm done with it. And then, so various things happen. Oh, by the way, there's plague and pestilence now on Bajor. Since Sisko stole the artifact, like the wormhole's going crazy. The Rakantha province has always got shit going on, but it's extra bad.
Always the Rakantha province.
There's like the old man yells at Cloud Village has like 3 extra clouds all of a sudden. It's a nightmare.
To be fair, all this sounds like normal Bajoran activity.
Exactly. I don't know what they're all upset about. It's like, this is a Wednesday. But anyway, Kai Winn's like, Benjamin, child, all this is happening because you pillaged the fucking ancient site, so please bring the thing back. And he's like, fine, Mom, I'll bring it back. Don't worry about it. And then he has a little hissy fit, throws the thing into a wall and destroying it, to which Kai Winn is like, you piece of fucking shit. Why am I the one that the fans hate when this fucking piece of shit just goes around destroying everything? God damn it. And it turns out, though, that what he actually did when he broke the tablet was exactly what he was supposed to do, according to the prophets, because it released to a prophet. Yeah, 2 ghosts, 2 entities, a prophet, the good guys, which are obviously blue colored, and the evil guys, which are orange colored.
Someone
so
called Bev Crusher.
The Coast-Emojan, the
one
evil
tastes like
one.
raspberries and the other like oranges.
And we find out that, this whole thing is about the reckoning, and this is a foretold in the prophecies that a prophet and the Pa-rays will have, who are like the prophets that were cast out, they're going to have a big old fight, and whoever wins will decide the fate of Bajor, and they're going to have this showdown on the station. And Sisko's like, well, shit. That's a bad idea, but I guess we're going to have to do it. We better evacuate the station. Like, well, Benjamin, why don't we just, poison them so they'll leave? And he's like, yeah, I don't want to piss off the almighty wormhole aliens. And
they like me at the moment.
You know what? Just in case, we're going to leave the big red button that floods the promenade with prophet poison. We're just going to leave that button right here, just in case. If you want to do it, just break glass, hit the button, you'll be all set. So Sisko's like, all right, fine, but don't worry, I'm not going to do it, just evacuate. Well, we get down the promenade, turns out the Traveler has come. They chose the form of the Destructor, and it was Major Kira.
Joke.
And then we find out that they chose the other form of the Destructor, and it's Jake. So the Prophet took over Kira's body, and the Pa-wraith took over Jake's body. So now Sisko's like, God damn it. I want Kira to win because the prophets are the good guys, but I also don't want my son to die. But I guess I have to let this play out.
Not even. He was like, yeah, go ahead. See what happens. Let's see how this goes.
The prophets won't let anything
Sisko.
bad happen to Jake, to which Dax is like, you remember that the prophets let bad shit happen all the time, and they specifically told you they were going to exact a penance last time you saw them, so maybe just hedge your bets, maybe turn the prophet poison machine on. And he's like, no, we're going to let it play out. So then they have this like Naruto anime battle with like energy beams blasting each other and tug of war of energies.
It's the most tense fight I've ever seen.
It must have been the most boring scene to film because
it was
without the special effects, it's just Nana
I have a great note.
And Sirach standing across from each other making like fucking constipation faces at each other.
I can't imagine how many takes it must have taken because they must have kept just bursting out laughing.
True. Yeah. That is exactly what Nana has said.
So it's looking bad for Team Pa-wraith, but just at that moment, Kai Winn realizing that she's not currently the center of attention, turned on the prophet poison machine and ended the battle prematurely, and the Pa Wraith and the prophet left, and
Where'd they
the
go?
reckoning is unresolved, so we don't know.
But where did they go?
They just went away.
Subspace.
Okay.
Well, presumably the prophet went to the wormhole and the Pa Wraith went to the fire caves.
Yeah, whatever
And
they do.
I'm sure this will have no. We're not
Lasting
gonna. That's
effects.
the last we hear of that, right? This isn't gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
These
Jake's
that's what I
face is already
figured.
chickens will
bounced back.
never come home to roost.
Yes, this will in no way affect the rest of the series.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Good, glad to hear it. So actually, we really don't even have that much more to talk about.
No.
Yeah.
That,
So
I
let's
mean,
move on
that
to
was
the
pretty
next-
much just it.
Let's just move on to the Valiant then. No.
Okay, before we get into serious shit,
Uh-oh.
Jake's outfit in the last scene was fucking great.
Is it the same one as he has on in Valiant?
Yeah, the with the brown vest, the purple shirt. And
Oh, was
it's
it purple or was it like really dark blue?
one or the other, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
do not
it looks
remember it.
great. That boy is like 6.5 feet tall. Not even actually, I guess he's a man now. Still think of him as young Jake. But he's like wicked tall and like everyone else. And they finally figured out how to dress him. They said, we're gonna stop making you put on Wesley's like fucking ugly sweater cast-offs.
Yeah, no, the outfit they put him in it's really well tailored. It's a nice combo of colors. It looks really good on him.
And it also looks like normal clothes. Like I hope he like stole those when he left. Like the last day of filming, he was just like, yoink.
Nope, he kept growing like several more feet tall, and he grew out of them because he's
It's
that
true.
tall.
It's true. He's 12.5 feet tall today.
Yeah.
Tallest man alive.
Yeah. He's dating that tall Russian lady.
Oh, the model
Yeah.
who also used to play basketball.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Ooh, model basketball. That sounds hot.
it is. She's a good-looking lady. I'll look it up. We can put it in the notes.
Cool.
So, yeah. Does anyone have anywhere specific they want to start with this one?
I'm gonna shit on Dax as I usually do.
Oh, poor
Because why the fuck is this her job? Like, you'd think doing archaeology of a Bajoran artifact should be left to Bajoran archaeologists, not to some Federation scientist.
Well, I mean, in part, obviously, part of it is because Ben was like, "Hey, it says emissary on it, so it's mine."
Well, originally it was because he said the monk Coral basically said we don't have the resources.
That
Sisko
too.
said, "Oh, I do," but then didn't bring them the resources. He just took the very fragile artifact.
Yes.
Like
I don't know.
a
It was
dick.
holding up okay until he chucked it at the wall.
But yeah, I mean, the reason it falls to Dax is just because Star Trek falls into that same, silly trap that so much fiction falls into, that if you're a scientist, you know all science ever.
Yeah,
There
if
aren't
you're on the
physicists-
show,
Yeah.
you're the only one who knows this.
No,
Yeah.
I thought it was so she could crack wise. She got a lot of good one-liners
Oh, she
off
did.
on that rock. Yep,
Yeah.
it's just as I suspected. It's a stone with some writing carved into
Yeah,
it.
that was cute.
Rim shot.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy that she was annoyed from the off by this whole thing.
Didn't she also get a good one off when he threw it against the wall? Wasn't
Yeah, she was like, "Oh yeah, I think about throwing rocks at the wall all the time. I never do it,
Yeah.
idiot."
Yeah. I think she gets the job because.
dummy.
Yeah. I think she gets the job because she's the emissary's best friend.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I like about them together in this episode, is they kind of, I feel like they finally figured out how to write them as though, Dax has been alive for 8 lifetimes and
Yeah.
knows Ben really well.
Yeah, the two
gonna
of them
say
are
that-
great.
That actually makes her, in a way, the most qualified because she's probably the oldest person who can have access to this rock. But that's really the only thing.
Yeah, what she really... Oh, the only thing that... the easiest thing that could have just fixed this is give her a Bajoran assistant.
Yeah.
Someone who knows the culture, who could point at the rock and say, "Oh, I get that part. That's a part I get." You
Yeah.
wouldn't, because you're not Bajoran.
Yeah, but here's the thing. She's married now, so they couldn't make some gross whirlwind romance bullshit the, B plot, and they're just not interested in, using Terry Farrell unless
Oh
it's
my god.
for the sex appeals.
Boys!
Please.
You're probably sadly right. That is probably why they did not. But no, I mean, there definitely should have been, one of the archaeologists from the dig site, right?
Mm.
Like somebody that knew what the fuck this thing was. So it's not just like they didn't have the resources there. It's like, yeah, no, there's no such thing as Bajoran archaeologists. So I hope you have a general science expert at your disposal, Sisko.
I do kind of wonder, though, like, given that the occupation only ended not that long ago and all this, like, how many truly qualified Bajoran academics are there? Like, I feel like a lot of them, especially on the history side, must be pretty self-taught. Because I feel like that's something the Cardis would have tried to really keep down.
Maybe they should have tried to find a Cardassian Bajoran archaeologist. I feel like some of them
that's
probably...
interesting.
Well, because I'm sure some of them were doing some digging around while they were there. And in fact, they talk about, I think Kai Winn mentions, like, well, you know, the Cardis used to steal our shit, and so it's sort of a sore spot. So, actually...
Although I think that was probably more akin to when the British would steal things. It wasn't so much about study. It was just, we want this in our museum, please, thank you.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they'd still study a little as, like, a side effect of the thieving.
You know that the Cardassian Museum is mostly Bajoran artifacts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And the molted skins of some of their more famous historical figures.
Ooh, that sounds sexy.
And probably the paintings that Zial did.
Yeah.
Nope, those got destroyed.
Oh, that's
but
a shame.
actually,
They were nice.
did really like the inclusion of alien archaeology in this episode, because it reminds you that even though like all other species seem to know all of Earth history, there's a lot more history to go around, and I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think this whole question kind of gets to a subject that I'm kind of confused about, and maybe want to ask kind of a stupid question, which is...
No stupid questions, Carl.
Awesome. What's an emissary? I feel like I believe we were told that they were supposed to be like the one who speaks to the prophets, but it seems like if that's true, that Ben's word should be law more or something. Like, is he sort of part of Bajoran culture in a way that sidesteps Prime Directive concerns?
So that's something that, you know, I mean, it does sort of come up on occasion. Like, they even say in this one that Starfleet's not super comfortable with him being the emissary.
No.
I'm not super comfortable with him being the emissary.
And,
he
like,
has a
probably-
very conflicted interest.
Yeah.
Winn definitely isn't okay with it.
But it's kind of the best way to keep their foot in the door there, so they sort of go, I guess.
They need the wormhole, so yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, fuck, I guess we're going to have to kind of turn a blind eye to this as much as we can. But yeah, I think you're right. You know, like, I mean, they talk about the fact that, you know, he's an outsider.
Yeah.
And if he were a Bajoran, I think it would be a little more... like
Accepted or...
Like, he carries a lot of authority as it is, but I think he'd be taken more seriously by a larger portion of the population if he were a Bajoran.
But
if
he wouldn't
weren't
be taken at
Starfleet.
all seriously by other races.
Right. It's, you know, like, I feel like the only reason, Kai Winn really has any sway whatsoever is the fact that he's a human, he's Starfleet, he's all this.
Oh,
He started
you're
out
right.
a non-believer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they kind of treat him as though he was like the junior member of the board or something, Chikar and Kai Winn. And I feel like he is trying to kind of lash out and assume... You know, one thing that I really think they didn't deal with enough in this episode is, in terms of the relationship between Sisko and the prophets, is that Sisko, you know, beyond the religious aspect, the prophets are now keeping the Dominion on the other side of the wormhole, presumably.
Right.
So, like,
That was...
so the Sisko owes them big.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is maybe his attempt to really be an emissary, and he's brushing up against Kai Winn. But I'm really not sure if he's right. And I mean, I guess at the end he turns out to have been right. But, you know, Kai Winn is making a lot of the points that you all made, which is kind of fascinating to be on her side.
Oh yeah, I was
much of this
super on Kai
episode.
Winn's side.
I was torn because, again, it's like, you know, like, unlike the Cardassians, I feel like you can believe, he'll return it when he's done. Except he smashed it, but we didn't know that was going to happen. And, you know, it was like, welcome emissary. It's like, it's basically like, that right there is kind of like, I guess, I mean, it does have his name on it.
Doesn't have his name.
It's
on it.
still
It says
a-
emissary. There could be other emissaries before
It's
him.
still a Bajoran artifact, and just the fact that there were no Bajorans involved is where I drew the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely an unreasonable thing that he did, but it's also sort of politically, like, I think to a certain extent, it's politically astute. Like, he is. One thing I noticed is that he learned that when he doesn't know the answer to a thing, he should just say, well, the prophets are not always clear.
Here's the other thing, though. He also did not ask permission.
No.
No, that's true.
Like that monk Koral was there, and he was like, well, I don't fucking know. This isn't my job. And he just took it.
Yeah, that's true.
Better to ask forgiveness than permission.
No, it's not.
Well, it is if you want to get your way.
That's true.
Literally, Sisko was like, they were like, oh, Kai Winn wouldn't have let you take it. And he's like, yeah, it's why the fuck I didn't ask.
I liked later when he got she presented the formal request from Shakar, and he was like, oh, you must have been very persuasive. It's like, no, Ben. The persuasion was, Shakar went, okay, look, what? Just what will it take to get you out of my fucking office? Sign it, sure. I don't care what it is, go.
Though Carl, to your point about, like, him, the emissary being treated like the junior board member, I think that I agree that Kai Winn treats him like that, because I think she's just jealous because the prophets aren't talking to her, and we get a lot of that in this episode when she kind of, like, says, like, he's like, oh, they're not usually clear, and she's like, well, I wouldn't fucking know because they don't talk to me. And I feel like Shakar probably doesn't think too much about it, because I feel like he only became, whatever he is, president of the Bajoran Club, because he wanted to, like, best Kai Winn.
Yeah, he specifically didn't want her to be both First Minister and Kai.
But I feel like the people believe in the Sisko, because they come to him for blessings and this and that. Like, Kai Winn is pissed because she wants the prophets to pay attention. She's like, notice me, senpai. Even in this episode,
Yeah.
she's like, prophets, tell me what to do. And they don't even fucking look at her. It's magnificent. She was so burned. And Kira, of course, makes the subtext text and is like, yeah, the day she became the Kai should have been like the best day of her life. But, fucking prophets, she has to share it with you because the prophets, are super into you. So
The best scene of the whole thing was when Prophet Kira, like, just totally cold-shouldered Kai Winn.
Yeah.
That was just
Major
like,
diss there.
like you said, like, literally, like, looked above her head, like, just didn't even make
wouldn't
eye
even
contact.
glance
It was
at
like,
her.
oh,
Couldn't even
it
give her
felt
that.
so good. Like, you thought back to every scene from other episodes where she was unreasonable.
Where she'd be my childing.
Yeah.
I'll
and
be
you're
honest, even in that moment, I felt a little bad for her. I never feel bad for Kai Winn, but in that moment, I was just like, oh, man.
Oh, not me.
Because, like I said, Kira said it. Like, this was her life's goal. Everything she's done in her life, she's done for the prophets. I mean, allegedly. And which I guess you could argue.
Yeah, regardless
But,
of
like,
if she's a good or a bad person, she is a devoted person.
Yes.
Well, but then again, when the true test of her faith comes
Yeah.
forward at the end of this show,
She fails.
She freaks the fuck out, and she says, "May the prophets forgive me." And I said to Chris, I was like, Jesus, that's a way to get them to fucking notice you. A little bit of negative attention there. It's like
Better
most-
to ask forgiveness than permission.
Yeah. there you
no,
go.
do as I say, not as I do. God damn it! But like, I just I'm seriously though, like, how do you think that is? They wouldn't even look at you before, so now you're gonna fucking fuck their shit up? That doesn't seem like a great way to get in good with the prophets, Kai Winn.
No.
You know what is absolutely wild? Is originally when they were writing this show, this whole little good versus evil, bring the power wraiths back because they're going to be a whole lot of fun pitch for this show was it was going to be the prophet in Kira and the power wraith in Winn.
That's actually kind of what I was hoping for.
That's half what I was expecting.
Because she's just... I feel like that would have been too on the nose, though.
Yeah.
Because no matter how you feel about Kai Winn, side note, we all fucking hate her, obviously. Like, I just feel
love
like
her.
you can't argue... Well, I mean...
You love to hate
I love
her.
to hate her, but you just can't, like, you can't see... I can't see that working.
I think, well,
Yeah.
plus, it's really, like I said, that's too on the nose. And really, it's so much worse for her as a character, for her to have
just been
failed the way
ignored.
she did. Well, and then failed the test of faith.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you stupid fucker, you blew it.
You done goofed, Kai.
Like any doubt I may have had, like, you know, it's like, how much is true devotion versus her own self-interest that she has convinced herself is devotion? And that just, I mean, we all knew, but there were moments, you know, they had that a while ago she was on and kind of went on about, you know, how badly things were for religious figures on Bajor. And you're like, wow, so she may not have been a resistance, but she put up with some nasty shit. Okay, I feel a little for her. And then, like you said, in this one, really, yeah, up until the end, you're like, yeah, she's making some good points, you know, like, come on, Ben. But then she totally just blows it at the end. You're like, nope, you're just a politician. Draped in a cloth you don't actually believe. And so we were all right the whole time. You're the worst.
I would like to move to title this episode "You Done Goofed, My Child," because it works for both episodes.
I love it. And then so on the flip side of that is it was fairly telegraphed early on that it had to be Jake that was going to be the other in this feud of figures.
Angle of like Sisko
the non-believer
having the penance and like all roads led to Jake.
My dumbass.
He was so present for a lot of the scenes in which Sisko was questioning things.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's Jake's angle? Oh, here's what Jake's angle is. Here, he's a power wraith.
my dumbass didn't see it coming.
Same.
Really?
Because I was just like, it was just, you know, because for me, it was just like, well, yeah, it's Jake finally saying, like, Dad, this emissary shit's dangerous. And
stupid.
It worries me sometimes. And it just seemed like necessary character building. And then it was like, oh, fuck, he's got the red contacts.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I think I shrieked.
You did.
I really don't do well with eye shit. Any eye shit. Yeah, I was a big fan of
Gary Mitchell, huh?
Well,
yeah.
That mostly just made me uncomfortable. But, like, I watched Supernatural a lot, and they love to put, like, full black contacts on people to be like, hey, they're possessed by a demon now. And that shit is just, ugh. It just, there's something very visceral in me that reacts, and I hate it.
Yeah, no. Possession contacts and her are not friends.
No.
There was some kid in my high school that got, like, Darth Maul style red contacts.
Oh, sure.
I remember those.
Yeah.
I think someone at my high school probably did that, too.
Yeah, I think like it freaked out enough teachers that they banned them within like 2 days.
Yeah, getting back to
and Kira had contacts of some kind,
finish what
right?
you're doing.
Oh, I was just gonna say, was that kid in your high school also the kid that, like, I don't know, wore a cape to school and, like, called in bomb threats? Because I'm pretty sure it was that kid for my school.
I don't know if he was the cape and bomb threats kid, but he was definitely like the loner, kind of scary kid, I'd say.
Oh, did he ever get those press-on vampire fangs that you could, like, you know, they fit to your teeth so you didn't talk with, like, a mouthful of plastic?
No, I mean, this kid was more like...
I'm from New Hampshire, so
like
we were a little more
like
extreme.
Shaved head.
Live free or die.
Yeah. Nice.
Kira
You're
had
a
some
vampire, it's free and die.
That's true.
But Kira had a contact too, right? They were like weird, like blue
they were
ones.
they were like bluey. They were pretty.
Because blue is good and red is bad.
I like the Kira look in that fight.
Oh, she looked great.
Yeah.
I love what they were doing with their voices too. They did a lovely job with making the voices recognizably them, but like in a beautiful like filter kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like very ethereal.
I actually don't have a problem with that fight. I know it looks kind of stupid by modern standards, but it's like, you know, you can tell that energy is happening that like you can't see.
Yeah.
I just found it had exactly no tension because, you know, I watched as they're cutting to Sisko and whoever else is over there, Winn, talking, oh, it's your son out there. Yeah, I know. It was like there's so nothing happening and I feel nothing.
That's true. Exactly. They spend 60 seconds just restating the premise.
Yeah, basically.
Your son's out there. I know, but I can't stop this. Why not? I don't know. This is what...
It's because they wanted to take you by surprise with the, like, Kai Winn's gonna throw the third switch and fuck it all up thing.
Yeah.
And that was truly awesome. But I think looking back on it, I think I like the second half of the script. And I kind of wish we had more about, like, what's Ben's opinion now? Like, is he... I mean, maybe he should convert at this point if the wormhole aliens are holding back the Dominion. Like, I would be praying like 3 times a day if I
feel like he kind of sort of has. I mean, he did talk a while ago about wanting to retire to Bajor. Like, he's fallen in love with the culture in a huge way.
Yeah. And it's still hard to believe he would submit Jake to that, though.
He was convinced Jake would be okay, though.
Right.
I don't think he let the direness of the situation really sink in, that we could, A, Jake could die, B, we could all die, C, we could destroy the station.
It's very Abraham.
Yeah, it is. And I guess... this situation would kind of come up all the time. Like, we did have that situation where Jake stayed on the station under occupation for 6 months without even asking for permission, or whatever it was. I mean, still, if I were Sisko, I think, like, I would not let Jake be the last guy to be evacuated in that situation. I would probably be like, all right, Jake, don't tell anybody, but I've hidden a personal escape pod for you underneath the cargo bay. This is just... Don't tell anyone. This is for my sake as much as yours. This is where you go.
Jake, your seat is also a flotation device.
The thing is, he'd probably been scheduled to be on an earlier one, but the Power Wraith had probably already been like, no, you're with me.
Oh, okay. I already grabbed him. I gotcha.
Oh, that'd be
I guess we don't really know when that would have happened.
That's
because
good.
we hadn't seen him in a bit, so it's entirely possible. He went undercover. I'm sure the Power Wraith can possess someone without it being... We know it's possible because Keiko was possessed by one that time and didn't have red eyes.
Right.
So Power
This was
Wraith...
a different one, though. This one is like the worst one.
Yeah, but Power Wraith Jake probably went out, maybe had sunglasses on. It was like, I'm actually reassigned to a different one, so go. And then he takes his sunglasses off, big red eyes, and, goes off to the fight.
So Carl brings up that the wormhole aliens are still stopping the Dominion at the doors, basically, which I didn't realize was still a thing that was happening, which means all of the Jem'Hadar in the Alpha Quadrant are either missing their white or they found a new source of white.
Well, didn't they say that there was a planet, like in the episode with the
those brilliant
the
jerks?
The eggheads made them surrender that planet.
Okay.
So I think they can make their own now.
Okay, I got it.
Damn you, Jack!
Fucking
and we
Jack.
know that they can make new Jem'Hadars, except they're going to be those inferior alphas that aren't as loyal to the prophets.
Oh yeah,
or at the founders.
Getting confusing.
Yeah, I got prophets on the brain.
So does Kira.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention something about. So, I mentioned this in the intro that they found this second city, not Chicago, but they found a second. They found a second archaeological site under the old one, and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat because one of the interesting things about Earth history is that's actually pretty typical.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Cities where they when they found what was thought to be the city of Troy from the Iliad. It was just like a mound. It was just a mound of dirt, basically, with grass on it. And they're like, yeah, there's stories that there used to be a city here. And this German archaeologist who wasn't, like, archaeology wasn't a thing. Like, this guy Schliemann.
It was just Dax. They just
Heinrich
brought in
Schliemann
Dax again.
basically invented the idea of archaeology. But he was such a bad archaeologist because he just started digging. And of course, as he was digging out this mound, he kept coming across evidence of cities. And he had no conception of I should probably preserve different layers of the city and catalog things. No, he just kept digging until he got to the bottom and was like, yep, this is the bottom city. I've dug through 12 other cities. This must be Homer's Troy. And then since then, that was in the 1800s, future archaeologists had come along and were like, yeah, no, that city is way older than the Iliad. So if
You've already destroyed Troy.
If this is Troy, if this is the site of Troy, it was one of the other cities that you had dug through and destroyed trying to get to it. So I think like now they're pretty sure it's like the 5th or 6th city or something like that.
Being fair to Herr Schliemann, when you're a person inventing a whole new
World?
No, what's
Science.
not science specifically, but
branch of sociology.
Field.
Yeah, that'll do. A whole new field. There's got to be some fuck-ups on the way.
Yeah, but his motivation for doing it, like, he would be the bad guy in an Indiana Jones movie because he didn't want it in a museum. He wanted to enrich himself.
Because he
Fair.
was German.
No, he just wanted money. He liked gold.
Discipline.
There we go.
Discipline. That's a good one, yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that the Bajorans evidently did the same thing. It's just like, hey, this city's on the has kind of fallen apart. Let's just bulldoze it and put a new city right on top.
Yeah.
And if you go down far enough, you find rock and roll.
Hey. Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, so we find this slab. Sisko, looks at it funny, and all of a sudden he's, having a conversation with the prophets again in what I thought was our laziest conversation with the prophets yet.
Yes.
110%, yes.
It was just pacing now, instead of, having memories or talking with things that the prophets are digging out of your mind, or it's a new translation of how prophets talk to you every single time we talk to the prophets, and I don't like them anymore.
Or was this perhaps not the prophets, but the Pa-wraiths? Was this maybe the Pa-wraiths? Maybe they're not as creative, and really what they wanted was for him to take the thing, break it, release them, and get the reckoning started, because that's the only way they're ever going to get back to the celestial temple.
I don't know. Keiko came close. Oh no, he was going to destroy it.
Yeah. You know what it was? They fucked up their prophesizing. They were expecting him next week. So most of the prophets were on vacation. And this was like the B team that they'd left at home. And they're like, wait, what? One of them was in the middle of dinner, like, he's that. Fuck. Where's the script? Where's the shit? We'll make it up as we go along.
I don't know where it is. All right, if you don't have anything else to say, just say he is the Sisko. Use that whenever you don't know what else to say. It'll be fine.
He is the Sisko.
They love
Shit's
that
of
shit.
Bajor. Yeah.
Work the word reckoning in there as many times as you can.
Question what baseball is.
The reckoning.
Because honestly, I still don't entirely get it.
The Sisko.
No.
He is
Seems
the
a little
Sisko.
boring.
How do errors work? I don't fucking care.
He is the Sisko.
So, side note, they tested a lot of people for Sisko, including a Scotsman and an Englishman. Would Sisko have been into cricket had it been one of them?
I assume so.
Oh, football, obviously.
Oh, God. I don't think I could watch it with a Scotsman or an Englishman.
It would be weird to have an Englishman after just having Picard, too.
He was a Frenchman.
Yeah, but he
with
wasn't.
an English accent. Okay, hear me out. It's Groundskeeper Willie.
Oh, no.
See, what they should have done was he was an Englishman, but yet again was not English.
Oh, it could have been Welsh.
Could have been Russian.
Oh, Welsh.
I choose to believe that in the future, the British are just like, you know what? We're going to do a reverse William the Conqueror. We're going back.
Yeah.
And that is the end of France.
William the Leverer.
Apparently I made the same note twice because we were supposed to record this weeks ago and something went wrong.
I was sick. It's my fault.
Diarrhea. Caitlin got diarrhea poison. And our rewatch to familiarize ourselves, I made a joke and then realized, oh, did I make that joke last time? And looking at my notes, yes, I did. And that's that Quark comes out and says, I've extended happy hour. And I say, it's happier now.
Hey.
Didn't I do that too? Not that joke, but didn't I say something? And did you say?
I think you did.
Because we had watched the first 15 minutes before the literal shitstorm took place, and
oh no,
the reckoning.
Yes.
It was orange and blue and fighting against each other.
I had weird contacts in.
But where did the white one go?
Just veins popping out of your head.
Brown eyes. What?
Oh no!
Oh no!
Ames made a face. I don't know if anyone else noticed, but when the tablet broke, there was a third little white wisp. I want to know where that fucker went off to.
It went to enjoy happy hour, obviously. It's happier now.
That was Cool Ranch flavoring. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
New from the wormhole. Cool Ranch profits.
But yeah.
Some other Capri Sun flavored something or other. I don't know. It's the 90s, friends.
All right. Cool. Anything else on The Reckoning?
I like
wreck.
I like the Odo Kira relationship in this.
Oh yeah, that was very nice.
That's right. That was the cold open. Was more bad news from the war, a little good news. Odo's cynical.
Yeah.
And then they have a moment. Yeah, that was cute.
Did you notice Kira eating fruit?
Yeah.
I did.
Neat.
I noticed on the second
Bajorans
watch.
do, all right. Well, I mean, Carl, I assume you were talking more specifically about the Odo being like, I have to stand up for Kira's faith thing.
Well, yeah, and just generally
that.
On top of everything else, they are a cross-religious couple as well as a cross. And I like, I feel like sci-fi and religion often irritates sci-fi audiences in sci-fi shows.
It gets mishandled a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this, I like stories where sort of religion and science kind of go hand in hand in characters.
You did a whole show about it, didn't you,
Carl? Yeah, certainly. And, with the idea that Odo doesn't have faith in the prophets but has faith in Kira, and that is enough is kind of, I feel like that's a real relationship. I just love that they were like friends for 5 years and a tortured history before that. And like now they're a couple, but it's kind of like everything, the architecture of their relationship was built long ago. And
the first he ever met her was because he thought she killed somebody, and she did.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny, of course, because, she's got a lot of faith.
Of the heart.
He himself does not, but he is seen as a god by a bunch of people.
Yeah.
It's very, very complex.
Yeah, it's like, as a god, gods are bullshit.
Yeah.
He and Sisko probably have had this out a little bit. Like, these people think I'm
Man,
God.
they should.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say in the beginning, and sometimes still, like one of the things that I like the least about Kira is like how like seemingly blindly religious she is, and that's just because I'm like also very cynical. But
she can adapt to, and she has compassion, and she has like I feel like her like vengefulness and compassion are at roughly equal levels, and I just love that about her character. Dramatically.
I also like her relationship with Winn, because she also started off like blindly following Winn until she realized, wait a minute, not your bad. And in this episode, wait a minute, you're actually a heretic.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Worf thing, where he you start simple, but by questioning you become really truly religious and not just like following dogma.
I think that's what makes her a good character, is that she like. While I think a lot of her life is viewed through her religion, she's not in total thrall to it.
Yeah.
And I think part of that must come from the fact that, like, so much of her life was so bad.
Well, it must be hard to not believe that your gods have abandoned you when that sort of thing is happening.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. Anyway.
So let's talk about Valiant.
Wynn's going to go all emo, and going to be really interesting. She's going to become a big REM fan.
Oof.
Yeah, so next up, we have Valiant. Like Prince Valiant from... the Prince Valium from...
even better.
From Spaceballs. This episode opens with Jake and Nog going on a little adventure.
I'm sorry. This episode opens in Quark's bar with the replicator not working.
That's true. Quark's replicator is broken, and nobody's fixing it.
Oh no! There are no engineers.
Because Curly's doing something, Rom's elsewhere, and Nog was assigned to it, but now he's going on a vacation with Jake, so nobody's fixing poor Quark's replicator. And then a female shows up, Dax shows up to fix it, and Quark's like, how can I get my bonk on when she's touching that disgusting replicator?
This is below her.
And Odo's like, you're in love. And I'm thinking, wow, this is sure to be a really annoying B-plot. And then that B-plot ends within the first 3 minutes of the episode.
I was so grateful for that.
Yes.
Her
I
hands
think-
are for Umox, not for fixing not reclamators, replicators.
Yeah, Reclamators, that's what they got on
decided-
Bajor.
I've just decided that Valiant and that little stupid scene is actually leading into the B plot of an episode that is Prophet and Lace. And I know we're not going to talk about it right now, but that beginning of Quark's day, I think, would work really well with that shit show. But go on.
Anywho,
Spoilers.
so Jake and Nog, they're on their way to Ferenginar, the Ferengi homeworld, because they have to deliver a top secret message from the Federation directly to the Grand Nagus. And Nog being the only Ferengi in Starfleet, is tasked with this immense honor. And Jake is there because he's like, he convinced Nog to let him join him because he was going to go on a vacation. But in secret, he actually wants to get a exclusive interview with the Grand Nagus.
Presumptuous much.
Yeah, that offends Nog to no end. But they don't get very far because as soon as they leave this rando starbase, it gets attacked by Jem'Hadar. And then they're trying to outmaneuver a Jem'Hadar ship in their little runabout, and it's not going so well. They get hit by some phaser things, and then suddenly they get rescued by the Defiant. Record scratch. That's not the Defiant. That's the same model, but with a different number on it. That's
and a red paint job.
the Valiant.
And no cloak.
Yeah.
It's another Defiant class ship, but this one has a secret, and that secret is it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So the Valiant valiantly rescues Jake and Nog, and they beam aboard, and they find out that this isn't any ordinary Starfleet vessel. This is a Starfleet vessel manned entirely by teenagers. And we find out that it is, in fact, the training vessel. Why Starfleet puts their most advanced warship in the hands of children, we'll never know. But yeah, no, this was actually a training vessel, and the entire crew is made up of the members of not Nova, but Red Squad. The pieces of shit that Admiral Layton manipulated into destroying Earth's power grid. Somehow those people got themselves a ship.
They're a bunch of little followers, and it shows.
Yeah. So we find out that, there had been some adults, but they all got killed in a battle. And since then, the captain of the ship, Mr. Piece of Shit, Captain Wet His Bed.
Punchy face.
Yeah, Punchy McFace. Captain Ben Shapiro.
Wow. Low blow.
He's like, we're behind enemy lines. We're striking at the heart of the Dominion. And Jake is like, don't you think maybe you should call Starfleet and get orders? Like, no, our orders are to remain silent. Let them know you're alive. We have to do this top secret shit. And everyone else in the crew is going along with it. We got, First Officer Admiral Nechayev's daughter. And
right? I thought she kind of looked like her too.
We got Helmsman, the piece of shit that Sisko scared the shit out of that time. And
Chris pointed that out too.
And we got Chief something of other, girl that misses the moon. Anyway, they're all a bunch of shitheads, but they're all blindly following the captain, and the captain's like, let's go on a suicide mission together.
Wait, but you forgot Chief Engineer.
Oh, a Chief Engineer, newly recruited Chief Engineer, Nog, who is very qualified. I mean, he does fix their warp drive, because they've been puttering along at warp,
3.5.
And he got them up to warp 4, so yay.
I thought he got them to warp
6? I thought it was
whatever.
He
fixed them up good. But meanwhile, Jake's like, I really don't think this is a good idea because A, the captain seems a little unhinged. He gave the whole Tom Hanks no crying in baseball speech to the crying girl.
Yeah.
And
he's popping pills constantly.
He's doped up as fuck, and his whole plan is for us to attack a fucking gigantic ship that will surely destroy us. And Nog's like, you just don't understand. You never put on the uniform, man. You never, Red Squad.
Red squad, red squad, red squad, red squad.
Yeah, so it's just this whole, it's just the fucking same testosterone bullshit that, Locarno was up to when they were called Nova Squadron. You know, come on, we're the best of the best. We have to do this.
You're literally 16. Sit down.
Ducks fly together.
Like, congratulations. I did really good in high school, too. Like,
so anyway, they attack the ship. They hatch this plan that Nog kind of came up with, actually, which, whoops, to attack this Dominion special battle cruiser. It fails miserably.
So miserably.
Very miserably. The ship gets fucking destroyed, and they all get killed, except for Jake, Nog, and Cryy McCryface.
Oh yeah, cause
Sailor Moon, I think.
That's pretty good. No, Jake and I joked that Jake was okay because the safest place to be was the brig, evidently.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 'cause Jake got himself thrown in the brig for questioning Captain Shitpants. The three of them managed to escape in an escape pod and eventually get picked up by the Defiant. And Jake and Nog are like, man, that guy turned out to be a real piece of shit. And the moon girl's like, yeah, but he was a great man. And it's like, what? He got everybody killed, you dumb fuck. Anyway, and
then she performed Wet Ass Pussy by Cardi B and, what is it, Megan Thee Stallion?
Yes.
Great.
And yeah, end scene.
Maybe Starfleet needs to stop having elite groups of cadets.
It never works out.
Just throwing that out there.
Well, I want to know
how will you tell who the best cadets are?
Who's going to grow the radishes?
Like, how did fucking Lurch get back into Red Squad after the incident with Leighton? Jesus Christ.
Shepard?
Whatever. The guy.
Here's my theory.
You say Lurch, and I think Ruck or like.
Actual Lurch.
Yeah, some of the actual Lurches we've
this guy had kind of a Frankenstein-y shaped head, so I'm going with Lurch.
See, the thing is, the Red Squad kids then, like, they didn't know. You know, they were being told, they were told this was all next. It was a thing, like...
Oh, during, like, Homestead and Paradise Lost?
Yeah, like, technically speaking, they... were as surprised as everyone else when it turned out to be bullshit. So you really couldn't hold it against them.
I can still hold it against them.
Well, I would too. So here's what happens. Starfleet goes, oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, we technically can't punish them, but we want them the fuck away from Earth. Shove them on a ship and just send them away on a secret mission or something. Here, give them this Defiant we put together, but didn't actually, like, fix. Because it seemed to be having the same problems that O'Brien had to work out. And that surely Starfleet knew he had worked out, but they didn't do anything about it. I think they were sending Red Squad off to die.
Well, they succeeded in that.
Yeah. I'm sad Ramirez had to die.
Yeah, maybe he sucked too. Maybe that's why he got the job. Maybe he was an idiot.
Maybe. Yeah, they were fucking idiots. I mean, I was, as fucking Waters is going through his plan of getting everyone killed, I'm looking at the group of everyone he's giving the speech to, and they're all like wide-eyed, like, And there's some Vulcans in there, and I'm thinking, the Vulcans should figure this out and say, I have a better idea. Let's not do any of that.
Well, that's what's so great about this episode, I think, is the tone. Like, they really nailed people who are, like, pushed beyond their comfort zone and, like, are performing amazing stuff. But don't you dare think about the decisions you just made. Don't you dare think about them. No reflections. You're just in the moment. Don't question anything.
Don't think about the moon.
Don't think about the moon. Yeah, like, it's such a perfect, like, hostile workplace in a way. Because, like, Captain Waters is, like, he comes across as Mr. Friendly. And then Jake asks Sailor Moon about her past, and she starts crying. And immediately he's like, don't do that. Don't treat her like an individual.
She's like, I used to be the queen on the moon.
Yeah.
Well, he, like, clearly had given her a talking to for having emotions.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's like, that's not, a good captain, talks to make sure they're okay. And it's like, we have to focus, but, turn that into something positive. And then, not just like, stop that.
Yeah.
Like I said to Caitlin, at one point, Waters and what is it, the first Faris there, little Nechayev, have a meeting at 16:30 or whatever. It's like, yes, it's time for their emotionless sex. Because I hate sex because that's too much emotion. They just meet in a room. He's already erect. She's already.
No. This is
whapping.
Uncomfortable because that actress was 16.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah.
Well, they're all doing, I feel, impressions of their parents in a way, and particularly Waters and Barris, like they have such a great and like obvious command style that you can read like a book, basically. Like, good cop, bad cop. Ferris roasts you, and then Waters stops her and goes, hey, buddy, come on. Like, it's so predictable.
Yeah.
Even though secretly they're both bad cops.
Yeah. But it works because everyone's so afraid of everything. Like, I don't think, one thing I like about Barris's performance is I don't think she's naturally domineering or pushy in a first officer way at all, but she feels like she has to do that. And I think it's kind of smart about how when someone feels like they have to be bad cop, but they don't really have any relish for being the bad cop. Like, you can kind of tell.
Yeah, see, I struggled with the Ferris character because, as I said, she was 16 years old or so when this was being filmed, which means either she was and they're all very, like, a lot of them look very, very young because they needed this crew to look very, very young.
Mm-hmm. Except the Captain Waters somehow looked 40.
Well, I'm sure I didn't look him up, but I'm sure he was
30. I would probably say 30, and I think it was because of how huge that jaw was.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but the tough thing is like, especially for someone like Ferris, who is trying to act like someone with a lot of power while still being 16 years old. And it's like, I can't tell if you're not a good actor yet because you're 16, I'll give you time, maybe you're better now. Or it was just the character was just so fucking fake.
See, that's the thing. I think
it's the former, but I'm willing to give her some benefit of the doubt.
It's so weird. She's like our age. That's nuts. Like, I was just assuming she was in her 20s.
You could have been in this episode, Chris.
Literally, that's fucking bonkers to me. What I liked about Waters, I mean, he did look a little older, but which was fine, because I assume he's supposed to be a senior anyway. But, like, he felt like he was straight out of central casting for a Star Trek parody.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of looks like a dime store Kirk and acts like Kirk Drift Kirk. So it's perfect for a bad captain.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
The thing that I felt this episode lacked was any moment during the battle when any of the shitheads got to realize that they were shitheads and this is why everyone is dead. Like, I wanted the satisfaction of Waters, like, not just falling out of his chair and dying,
but watching
his crew get annihilated and having the realization that he's in deep over his head and like abandoning his post, and Nog has to jump in and order the abandoned ship because Waters refuses to do it.
See, that's kind of great though, because it's like, on the one hand, more realistic. Like, plenty of people in life fuck up and don't get the sort of catharsis of realizing it.
That's true.
And also, like, it just, so in a realistic, it's realistic, but also in sort of a meta sense, it's like, no, you don't even get to have a, like, dramatically pleasing death, like a hero character. Yeah. You get to just die like an extra.
Yeah.
You don't get to be there, fair. Like, kind of fading, watching thing. They could have done that. They could have done him on the ground. They do the, like, slow motion. The sound is muffled, slow, tight on his face, and you see him go like, oh, no.
The Enobrantane on the bridge of the...
Oh, yeah. On that Romulan ship.
The Romulan ship.
Like, he doesn't get to have that moment because he doesn't deserve it. There is, I think, you could argue, when he first goes down, there is a moment where Ferris looks shaken, which I think is the closest we get to what you want.
Yeah.
Where you can tell that she's just like, fuck, I guess I'm in command now for the next 6 seconds.
Yeah, until I get killed immediately.
Yeah.
So fast.
And I like, it's kind of clever how, by making Nog lieutenant commander, he accidentally puts him in line to be third in command, so that he can order the execution, because that's the only way anyone survives. You know, anyone else on that ship.
One person survives.
Well, yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing is, in reality, it's all pretend. Like, he's an ensign. They're acting ranks. Like, really, he was the highest ranked person the entire time.
Yes.
Yeah, like, honestly, he should have just taken command of the ship.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure an actual ensign outranks a field promotion captain.
Who's
like, at that
not
point,
even
it's like
not even a commissioned officer at all anyway.
Yeah, but,
like,
Nog walks in and says, oh, Red Squad is my friends.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the thing. Go back to the two-part of their Paradise Lost and all that. That's where they first mentioned them, and we realized, oh god, so they disbanded Nova Squadron and then immediately reformed it as Red Squad. Great Starfleet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it goes back to this sort of his early days where he was enamored with them, and he hasn't entirely shaken that.
Yeah, but like, they've shown repeatedly that they're pieces of shit, so...
Yeah, I think after this, he's probably no longer enamored of Red Squad.
Oh, they're all dead, so it doesn't matter.
There'll be
And
a new
hopefully,
one.
Starfleet does not reestablish, or it's like, all right, Nova, Red, let's call this one Beetroot Squad.
Obsidian Squad. It's a good word. Where did I hear that before?
Oh, no. Section 30 Squad. Squadron 30 Section. I don't know.
You trying to say something there, Carl?
Oh, I really like Jake in this couple of episodes. They have really nailed writing him as like a guy who is like he's a man, but he's still kind of a teenager. Like, he's just on the edge of his awkward age. You know, he has a lot of gravitas, a lot of grit as a journalist. But even so, when Jake and Nog get together, they're still squabbling like they were really little kids. Mm. And I just love that, especially in the sense, this is a really great episode for Nog in terms of being mature enough to make the call that it's over. And I think it's not an accident that when he does that, Jake is out of the room, locked in the brig. I have a feeling if Jake were in the room, he might have kept going just out of spite.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm fairly on this episode, but I fucking am enamored with the end of it.
Yes.
Because it's Nog comes to understand, wow, this was a giant mistake that everyone made following Waters off a cliff. Jesus Christ, Jake, write all this up in the article you're writing. And Dorian, who has been, her skull got crushed a little bit, ouch, is like, no, he was a great captain. He did everything he could for us, and I really loved him, and all this thing. I wanted to pork him a little bit.
Just a little?
Just a little bit. Well, he was obviously with the other ones, so it's fine. To which Nog says, write both sides, let people decide, which I think is quite excellent, even though I'm almost entirely certain anyone reading this would be like, yeah, Waters was an idiot.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, it's like that, it's sort of like that cult of personality, Jim Jones sort of situation, right?
Yeah.
It's like, they're completely blind to his mistakes or his faults because they just, he's built up this image of himself as this amazing captain who's gotten them out of so many scrapes and jams.
Well, and that's, the question, too, is, how much of that is Starfleet's fault?
Oh, all of it.
They definitely encourage the cult of personality, and I'm sure they do it even more during times of war. I mean, think of the affection O'Brien had for Captain Maxwell, who, of course, he was under during a time of war. I know I talked about this a while ago, but it would be interesting to see Starfleet Academy during wartime versus peacetime and what the curriculum looks like and what they push,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Starfleet Academy during wartime is just the training segment of Starship Troopers.
Yeah. I actually have a pretty decent quote from Ira Stephen Bear I wrote down. The quote is, I felt that after the war arc, we really needed a dose of reality. I just was afraid that people might be watching the war stuff and getting off on it, but I wanted them to know that it's not that simple, that life isn't really like that.
I just wanted to kill a bunch of kids.
Oh, ditto.
I'm glad he was concerned, but I certainly didn't view any of the war arc as it always kind of felt like, this sucks. This is bad. It's ruining everything.
Well, I think when you consider, Walt is one of my favorite Deep Space Nine episodes, which you all recently covered. And like just the fact that there were Star Trek fans who thought Gul Dukat was pretty great.
That's true.
That would teach you, if you were Ira Stephen Bear, you would be like, I got to address this stuff more.
That's a good point.
And what I love... sorry.
I was a teenager watching this, and I don't think I fell into the war is cool trap, but I did fall into the Section 31 seems cool trap.
Right.
And then I'm like, wait a minminute, no, they're secret police, and they're never good.
Yeah. Yeah,
They wear nice jackets, though.
Oh, hey, I will not fault their sartorial choices.
Another interesting thing I read about this episode was that the original plan for it was to be not Jake and Nog go get rescued and hang out with this ship. It was Jake and Kira. But immediately there was the problem that obviously Kira would have just kicked all their asses and taken over.
Yeah, no,
give them a spanking, send them to bed.
The fact that she's not Starfleet be damned, she is clearly in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, she'd have had fucking Waters on a leash licking her boots within 10 minutes.
Hot.
I mean, the thing
sounds like a mirror.
Becomes a mirror, exactly.
Here's the thing. Everyone has a little bit of their mirror selves in them somewhere.
Nah.
Or it wouldn't be possible for the mirror people to exist. I don't know what that says about Jake, since there's no mirror Jake.
That's true. That's very interesting. Jake is just pure in all forms.
Yeah. Well, he's also he is such a man without a country, and not without a country, but he's not in Starfleet. He's not Bajoran. He's on a Bajoran space station in his father's Starfleet. He's always like a something who can't do something. Like he's a journalist who can't be a journalist because it's the occupation. He's always... One other thing I loved about Jake in this episode is he knows, everything he thinks is going to happen is true, but he's not, a diplomat, so he can't... consider, the scene in the engine room where they're describing the plan. Jake should say something like, you don't need this, you already have accomplished your mission. You need to get the data back to Starfleet. That's your mission. And what he says instead is, okay, do you know who my father is? He's the greatest strategist in the galaxy. You all suck compared to him. And that, of course, that just gives Waters the chance to sort of whip off the smiling face and go full MAGA. And everyone's chanting Red Squad. And Jake is just rolling his eyes. And I love that look.
You can kind of see why he did that, though. He's all right, these people don't respect my opinion because I'm a civilian.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But my dad.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense why he tried that tack. Again, it didn't work. But it does. There's a real good, solid logic behind it.
Yeah.
The other issue is if they did go report back, say, here's the stuff we found, they would take away their Valiant, and they wouldn't get to go play Valiant anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's really what Waters knows that.
Yeah.
Maybe the rest of the crew isn't thinking that way because they're too busy being enthralled to him, but he enjoys being fake captain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
But Jake being a civilian perspective is great. It reminds me of, I've always felt like it would be great to have a Star Trek with a mixed civilian Starfleet crew.
Definitely.
Obviously the Valiant will always be all Starfleet because it's a warship. But it would be fun to see in a series just a lot of them still Starfleet. You want the Starfleet
to see the enlisted men.
Not even that. There's no reason your scientists have to be in Starfleet.
So you're saying you love Neelix, I'm hearing.
But that's maybe something like that, where it's your chief scientist isn't Starfleet. They're this brilliant scientist, but they didn't want to be Starfleet, and they're like, do you want to come science with us? And they could go, yeah, okay.
Isn't that kind of like Phlox?
Phlox, I mean, Keiko, she was a botanist on a starship,
is
but
that kind of how Stamets is too?
No, he's full Starfleet.
He's
Oh,
Starfleet,
he?
but he's more science than fleet.
Yeah, he is pure science Starfleet. He is not interested in any other aspect of Starfleet.
Yeah, if they asked him to be on the bridge, he'd be like, bridge.
Yeah.
No.
Or a Carol Marcus type character.
That's
there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'd love to see more of that. Because I feel like that's really how a peacetime Starfleet would probably run. Is we need these minds. They don't want to deal with the Academy bullshit, and that's fine because then we never have to put them in charge of anything. And even can't think of his name, but the guy who was dicking around with the Traveler, technically wasn't Starfleet. They put him in a Starfleet uniform for some reason, but they made it explicit he was a civilian.
Well, there was also the guy, the Stratagema guy.
Yeah.
Who was just like, he wasn't science, but he was an expert in fighting, but he wasn't.
Cole Rami, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's nice to have a civilian perspective, and it would be nice to have it sort of just regularly part of a thing. But especially in an episode like this, where it's a very, war-focused episode, to have this one person who's just not caught up in any of it. Not even the extremist version. He's not even in the normal version of this. Yeah. He's just like, I'm just some guy who's caught up in the middle of all your bullshit.
I'm going to bring us back to a different thing.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we briefly touch upon, and that's that weird cold open scene in Quark's bar. And because I so emphatically don't need that Quark still has a thing for Jadzia, because we did that just recently with Bashir.
Yeah, why are we bringing these things back that we were happy to have dumped?
Don't need them.
I mean,
are they doing it because of what's coming?
I don't even know.
Maybe to remind us, hey, don't forget there's some people who are still carrying a torch for Jadzia Dax.
Maybe.
Because,
Yeah.
She can't be a character. She can only be seen through the lens of men.
Well,
Boom.
I mean...
Yeah, it's pretty bad. One thing I did find kind of hysterical about that scene, though, was that apparently a malfunctioning drinks replicator means that it just replicates goo into its own innards. It doesn't just stop working. It catastrophically
my assumption there was that it was that those are remnants of spilled drinks that had found their way into the mechanism, and that's why it stopped working.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I can imagine a drinks replicator gets a fair amount of abuse just from having shit spilled all over it.
Maybe part of the issue was drinks were replicating without the glasses.
Ooh. Yeah, that could be gross.
That'd be kind of, you just see it form. It's like, there's a split second where it holds its shape like a fucking Warner Brothers cartoon, and then
or a baby Odo.
Aww.
Well, he tried so hard.
So I think what's interesting about this week overall is that we're examining two different kinds of faith. Or maybe multiple kinds.
That's
it's
good.
It's religious faith in the Reckoning. It's faith in this sort of system you're part of in Valiant. And actually, it's interesting. Jake, in both cases, is kind of like the voice of... Huh?
The voice of, y'all are idiots.
Yes.
But it's interesting because it's like... he's a bit kinder about it in The Reckoning because he knows that it's important to his father. So he sort of wants to try to get it, but is still like, this stuff scares me because it keeps almost killing you. And then with Valiant, it's like, this is insane and might kill me.
Yeah. Why don't I get a say in this when I might die?
Yeah.
Assholes.
Aren't I one of the people you're theoretically having this war to protect?
I know. I had a note fairly early in the episode when Jake is here, not as a member of Red Squad, but very obviously still definitely here. And I say, wow, is Jake basically a prisoner? ... A couple scenes later, oh, yeah. Now he is.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's like you get to see... there's Ben's faith, which is newish but fairly unwavering. Kira's, which is rewarded. Kai Winn's failure, her failure in the face of her test of faith. And then this sort of almost cultish faith on the Valiant. It's a really interesting couple of things to have back to back. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but it really works out nicely during a viewing where it's just like, wow. But except there's no real clear thesis between the two of them, just because of the way it all sort of works out.
Well, they're still individual episodes. Yeah. They don't really... They still let them stand on their own. Yeah,
but if I was cleverer, I would sit there and really figure it out, but I haven't had to write an essay in decades, and fuck that.
Also, if our watch had, paired these differently, we would be doing, Valiant with Prophet and Lace or something, and that'd be a whole different thesis.
Yeah. True.
That thesis of that one would be Quark is still gross.
Yes.
I think if there's a thesis to these, it's what Quark says. No, it's what Nog says. Put it all down. Let people decide for themselves. And
like that.
Yeah, and that is such the thesis for Deep Space Nine in particular as a Star Trek series. And and then after saying that, Nog's Nog, delivers his opinion. He may have been a great man, but in the end, he was a bad captain. And I just love it. I guess Deep Space Nine's habit of acknowledging all perspectives, but then picking one is very sort of pleasant to me. That's just good drama.
Yeah, because it's satire or commentary without the writer actually having a stance just doesn't work.
Yeah, you have to sort of have a stance.
Yeah, you can't just fall into, well, everyone's kind of right, because that's just not true.
Yeah.
Or at least even if it maybe should be, it's not how the human brain works. And some ideas are inherently incompatible. I mean, I bring this up a lot in talking about things, but people who can't choose a side in the Inferno don't even get into hell proper. They spend eternity outside of it chasing a fluttering banner. And that, to me, is one of the most poignant images in the whole thing. It's choosing a stance really is important. And again, I think it makes for better art, because if you just waffle, you're either exposed as a hypocrite, or you create something that is bland and lifeless.
Yeah.
There was a virtual play I watched early in virtual theater times, The State versus Natasha something or other. And it's a story about just telling the backstory of a woman who eventually you learn has been convicted of a crime. And it's not the show isn't even about the crime. It's more about her life and kind of the context of her life. And at the very, very, very end, when you've seen all the stuff that she talks about, this was on Zoom, so it's, a little poll pops up, says, do you find her guilty or not guilty? And obviously fucking guilty. And it shows you at the end, where the audience was split. And it was 67% guilty, 30% not guilty. And in the talkback, someone asked, how does it usually get split? Has she ever been not guilty? And they said, no. In fact, this was the closest one. This was the closest that this poll has come.
Interesting.
Well, that's kind of how it works. That's really neat, I mean, we all sort of agree at some point, but no one ever fully agrees.
Yeah, I will say, Carl, that write it all down, let the people decide, or what the exact line is, would be this episode title, but Caitlin already nailed it.
Yeah.
With "You done fucked up, my child."
Oh, I'm for that.
But I want to let you know, yours close second.
Nice.
Well, you could call it "You done goofed, my child," or the other thing.
That's too long.
That's very long.
Carl,
he definitely,
tried.
He definitely done
child.
goofed.
Oh, God, yeah, super goofed.
Well, speaking of goofing, you would totally goof if you missed next week's episode of Deep Space.
Man.
A Star to Steer Her By. Shit, I done goofed.
My child.
I gotta keep it, though, because that is probably our best segue ever.
Yes. Best segue ever. You know what's not going to be the best ever? Next week's episode of A Star to Steer Her By, when we will be discussing Prophet and Lace and Time's Orphan. However, it will be somewhat balanced out by the fact that Carl will be back and helping us to discuss, certainly 2 more episodes of Deep Space Nine.
Accurate.
That is one way to describe them.
It's true. And,
speaking of being non-biased, 2 episodes.
We'll tell both sides, and you guys can decide. So, in the meantime, if you want to hear episodes you may have missed, you can find keep wanting to call it a Deep Space Nine. Nope. You can find A Star to Steer Her By where all fine podcasts are sold. We are on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, not Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can also find
everyone
us.
Keeps rebranding.
You can also
Paramount
find us
Plus.
on.
You can't find us on Paramount Plus.
You can also find us on Facebook. God damn it!
Sorry.
You can find us on. I now know exactly how Ames feels. You can find us on Facebook by searching A Star to Steer Her By. You can find us on Twitter and Tumblr at SSHB Podcast, and you can find us on our home on the web, sshbpodcast.com. Until next we meet, I have been Caitlin.
I have been Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This has been Carl.
Thank you, Carl, for joining us again this week, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you very much.
Woo!
You have anything that you'd like to plug for the listeners back home?
I believe I should have some virtual theater out by the time this is this is done. And you can find it
yeah.
at unreliable-narrator.com. And check out the Minnesota Digital Fringe Festival coming in August.
Ooh.
Oh,
Nice.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Carl.